Hey there, and welcome to YAS, a stripper podcast. On this podcast, we'll discuss how classifying each other as people and workers is dangerous to society and marginalized groups of people. We'll also talk about the climate in and outside of the strip clubs and all of the amazing things that strippers do. And of course, we'll talk about all of the things in between. I'm your queen, A.M. Davies, and this is YAS, a stripper podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of YAS, a stripper podcast. I don't know if you noticed, but we were on a bit of a break for the holidays. It actually felt really nice to be on a bit of a break from almost everything. Our first guest after the break is going to be a new guest, someone who I just met on an online strip show. Her name is Kinky Slippers. Kinky and I met on Andre Shakti's Sanctuary virtual strip club show, and I was just in awe of her. Like, I would just sit there like with my chin on both of my hands and just rested on my hands and just watching her with my eyes wide open. I just felt she was just so stunning, and her stage presence it just came through the screen, basically. And, when I mention the stage, I mean, her living room in her house, which is all of our stages currently. And we did talk about missing the stage and how our stage does feel like home in a way. And we also talked about, a little bit about where she's from. Kinky is from Maine. So I learned a little bit some new stuff about lobsters, and we also learned about polyamory on this episode, and we talked a little bit about our credit scores and like finances. So it was a really kind of eclectic conversation, and it just flowed really well and covered a lot of different points. And I did want to point out something that I say in the beginning of this podcast when recording with Kinky. As I mentioned, like, oh, isn't it so great how we're all able to come together and during this time, and we're able to meet new people, and we're really able to like connect and come together during quarantine. And I just want to acknowledge that I feel a little inauthentic saying that without acknowledging that indeed during these last few months there have been some divisions and some differences of perspectives and some, for me personally, there's some few people out there that I used to talk to a lot that I'm not talking to at all right now. Just trying to give people their space. And I've found that during this time of letting the dust settle and of all of us having to transition so drastically, so quickly, under so much pressure, that, it's changed a lot of dynamics of relationships. And I've actually, not only have I have seen new connections and I have made new friendships, but I've also feel like some of my old friendships are waning a little bit, and they've weakened. And so I just wanted to acknowledge saying, oh, like we're all coming together, but in some ways we're not. And I don't want to sit here and pretend like everything is hunky-dory all the time and we're all getting along. We're not all the time. And just like anything in life, I suppose it goes in and goes out, it goes up, it goes down. But I just really wanted to acknowledge that in case anybody out there that I haven't talked to in a minute is listening, and I don't want you to listen to that sentence and feel like I'm just full of shit, basically. I think that's something I'm really committed to, is making sure that that my actions and my words match up. And something that I'd like to commit to as well is making sure that I'm doing my best to continue keeping us connected and repairing rifts out there. And I'm hoping that in time things will be able to work out. And so it was just really important to me to acknowledge that. So thank you so much for listening to that. I know that that's not really the subject matter of this particular episode, but I just wanted to share that with you. So thank you. And as always, thank you for listening. And I really, truly hope you enjoy this lovely interview and conversation with Kinky Slippers. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of YAS, a Stripper podcast, my favorite thing in the world to do. We have a lovely guest with us today, Kinky Slippers. Hello.
Hi. Thanks
Thank
for having me
Oh
here.
my gosh, thank you so much for being here. Would love to start off with you letting us all know what pronouns you prefer to go by.
Um, my pronouns are Hershey, like the chocolate bar. It's my favorite little
Oh my gosh, that
bit
is
to say
so
with that.
cute. That's the first time I've heard that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, so we met recently doing a show together, and that is how I came across you. And I was just, you're so stunning to watch perform. I was in complete awe of you.
You're making me blush so hard because I just like watching you perform and seeing your videos online is incredibly impressive. I love what you
Oh,
do.
oh, thank you. Thank you. I love having like this just, back and forth love with so many new performers lately. The pandemic really helped us come together, I think.
It is. It's really exciting to be able to connect with people from around the world rather than just like our insular community.
Totally. So what have you been up to since COVID? Like, what's going on in your world?
A lot for sure. It definitely like kind of threw me off. It's something where um burlesque, I was trying to focus burlesque as being my and sex work in general as being my main source of income. And it was like finally starting to get to a place of being able to do that, especially in Maine, where it's like
Mm,
still it's difficult even in good times. And then things kind of blew up with COVID, but
yeah.
it also provided this space where I can go online more and center more energy there. And other people are looking for more things to do online in their homes to have a safe space to do things.
Yeah.
So that's been exciting in a way.
Yeah. So you're in Maine.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what is that like?
It's really different. At times I really love it because I do love the people in Maine. Like, the community of dancers is really supportive and welcoming, and we build each other up. So that's really great. But it's oftentimes can be a bit of a struggle, because it takes a while for things to really come up to Maine, and you're always kind of pushing against a little bit of a conservative community, especially doing
Yeah.
burlesque shows where people want things to be family friendly.
Yeah. 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 So I feel like I heard about a union or some sort of organization in Maine for strippers and sex workers. Am I totally off base?
um, you might not be, but I haven't heard any word of it. So if there is, they could do a better job getting the word out on
Okay, I'm gonna
that.
look into it because I remember reading about it and thinking like, wow, how progressive for Maine. And I don't mean to sound like a total asshole, but when I think of Maine, it's like it's just so far. Not only is it far away, I feel like the population is lower and like it just seems like a different environment of, there's not a huge city there. You know what I mean? So it seems
Yeah.
so I was actually really like, oh, that's awesome that and maybe that it speaks to the community that you're talking about.
It is funny because it is something that's I think people don't know how much there is going on. It can definitely feel like there's not a lot going on, especially in the winter time where it gets freezing up here and there's really things start shutting down around 8 o'clock. But we do
Yeah.
have, especially in Portland, have a really art centric community that's like focused on trying to create these events and trying to create progressive spaces.
Right.
So there's a lot
Portland.
more going on than people think.
Yeah, and you're referencing Portland, Maine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which it still tends to like we talk about Greater Portland, Maine, because there's like a few different towns in the area that surround it that are part of like the community,
Hmm.
and there is a lot of art focus around the state. So there's definitely places that can grow, and we are getting a lot. The city's getting bigger. Like there's a lot more
Oh, that's tight.
growth and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you consider yourself a stripper and a burlesque performer, or burlesque and not so much a stripper?
It's tough. I definitely begin before quarantine thought of myself more as a burlesque performer. Like I did was more focused on stripping at one point in my life, and then recently within the past few years was focused more on doing burlesque. And then quarantine happened, and I've been doing a lot of like a lot of different shows and doing more strip shows as like probably more frequently strip shows than I do burlesque shows and doing more OnlyFans content. So it's been this kind of question of like, what is my job now?
Online persona. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What is our job now? Yeah. Um, that's interesting. So I did notice that your OnlyFans, like you, it looks like you have like tiers and bundles and you have 300 posts on OnlyFans. I totally clicked on your link tree. That's a lot of posts on OnlyFans. Yeah. I guess I'm just impressed by that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So I did actually have OnlyFans before quarantine, not to sound like such a hipster, like, oh, I was there before it blew
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
um, but no, it's definitely been more of my focus now for sure.
Yeah. And so and my other question too is like, are there a lot of online burlesque shows like there are with the strip shows? Like, do you see a large number? Because there's like so many online strip club shows now.
And there are a lot of online burlesque shows. It's been difficult because I'm trying to. Most of the shows that I've been doing for burlesque have been shows that I've been producing.
Mm,
So it's something where like Maine, especially the Maine burlesque community, isn't all that connected with any of the other communities. Like we're very connected with New Hampshire, which is also a really small community. But even as far as like Massachusetts, we don't really have a lot of like networking there, I suppose. So
right.
it's a little bit of a struggle to try to connect with these other burlesque performers out of state who are producing shows and try to get into those shows has been a little bit more difficult.
Really?
Yeah, at least as a Mainer, I think. I think
As
that's mostly
oh, as a
it.
Mainer. I was like, what does that
Yeah.
word mean? But you mean a person from Maine. Got it.
Yo, yeah, sorry.
No, no, it's fine. I was like, oh, a new word. No, I get it. I've never been to Maine. I want to talk to you about lobsters. Do you eat lobster? Maine?
Absolutely, yes.
You do? Okay. Here's the thing. I love lobster bisque, but I hate seeing lobsters in the water tank in the store.
Okay.
I just hate it. I want to free the lobsters so bad. How do y'all feel about the lobsters in the tank?
Um, it's funny because like I can definitely see why it seems like pretty cruel, especially like boiling them and cracking them open and dipping it in butter. But I'm
Oh,
just like I've grown up with it, so like
okay.
we've had it since I was little, so I just get so excited and
Okay.
it yeah it is a little mess. I definitely like say hi to them when they're in the little tank and like my stepmom has this trick where if you like rub their tails and like set them up on their head, you can actually make them fall asleep and pass out.
Yeah.
So
Do you do that just for fun? Just to
just for fun. Yeah. I
Oh
think
my
they kind of like it, but
You do like it? I mean, it sounds relaxing.
yeah, just like a little meditative, like
Yeah.
getting into posture and just like passing out.
Yeah, that sounds relaxing. But I get it. I get it. It's a cultural thing. I just, I'm like very like free the lobsters and I haven't had lobster bisque in a very long time and I don't
Mm.
know. Yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard. I just really care about animals a lot. So,
Yeah.
not to
It is
say that
funny too. They are getting overfished. So there is like a lot of people aren't addressing that there is going to be an issue in the next few years with like a lobsterman not being able to sustain their business because of the populations decreasing.
so the lobstermen are concerned about not sustaining their business while they
They
snuff out
are.
all the lobsters.
They are. Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's something too that it's supposed to be like something that they used to feed prisoners and so like it was not rich people food to begin with because they're like the cockroaches of the sea. So yeah, it was like torture to have to like eat lobster for like days on end
Well,
without any
yeah.
other substance.
Well, yeah. I couldn't eat lobster every day.
It's a little bit much. Yeah, it loses its like excitement when you're just constantly eating lobster.
I think anything would lose its excitement if you eat it day in and day out. Yeah. Thank you for going down a lobster tangent with me.
Oh, always.
Yeah. So I noticed that you do a thing called Kinky Talks Tuesday. Are you still doing that?
I haven't been lately, but I did really enjoy it. It was something I started closer to the beginning of quarantine just to
Uh-huh.
like talk about random things. So there was like a couple times where I talk about something serious, like I talked about polyamory once. And then sometimes I just talk about like Disney princesses and Disney characters and whether or not they're like gay or not, which is fun.
Oh, that's fun and funny.
Yeah.
Um, so are you into polyamory? Is that okay to ask?
I am, yeah. It's
Love
something
it.
that's not like fully out of the closet as
Oh,
as a person with my family, but like as kinky
oh,
slippers, I'm pretty
so
open about it.
talking publicly on here is okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Fuck yeah, because I think that's tight as fuck, polyamory. And one of my ideas was like, I can't find the right man or the right person on these dating apps. I should get on like polyamory Facebook groups to find like the right person. I'm just like clueless of how to find somebody who's like open-minded and like trustworthy and safe. So like how does somebody who wants to get into that, like, what do we do?
Honestly, it's pretty like as far as like finding somebody today, it's still super difficult being
Okay.
polyamorous as much as it is like being in a monogamous culture.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a journey for sure.
That's
Like I think a
good.
lot of the things that people think are going to be a struggle are not always as much of a struggle as they seem to be. Like jealousy, like everybody deals with jealousy. Polyamorous people deal with jealousy. Monogamous people deal with jealousy, and there's so many of these like undefined boundaries within both cultures. I just feel like with polyamory, there's a little bit more of a conversation of like, what does polyamory mean to you? What does dating more than one person mean to you? And you can have that conversation with yourself as well as with the people you're dating. Whereas like with monogamy, it's this like assumption that you're supposed to know whether or not your partner is okay with you talking to people of the opposite gender or whatever, or having friends that you think are attractive. You know, there's like less of that conversation in monogamy, which it should be a conversation in both.
Exactly. I know. It should be an in-depth conversation. I have this theory that long-term couples should be checking in with each other once a year on their written agreements of how to be in a
Yes.
relationship. Because we're
Yes.
constantly changing and evolving and we're in these long-term relationships and we're not checking in like, hey, remember that thing we agreed on a year ago? Are you still feeling okay with that? And do we need to change our boundaries? And that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. And there's like this fear around talking about it too. And it's just like with any conversation you're having, once you address what the issue is, you can actually talk about it and like solve some issues around it rather than just it being like the scary thing that people don't talk about.
Yeah, so I find it really interesting that you said also in polyamory, like people, there is still levels of jealousy because I would have thought that as a polyamorous, like interest person, you would have more, like a higher level of emotional maturity. But do you find that like it really doesn't matter? It's like a person to person thing, not necessarily a style.
It's totally person to person. And sometimes it's like you can find a good community of polyamorous people that have that mindset, which is great. But yeah, there's, especially when I first started doing polyamory, I was trying to be like emotionally mature and have that high emotional intellect, and like reading all of the books that you're supposed to read and listening to all the podcasts, and then had my first kind of relationship with somebody that had been in polyamory for a while. And I think I was expecting those to be the things like having conversations and having conversations about sexual interactions before having them, or about like figuring out what your expectations for a relationship are. And they definitely didn't initiate those conversations and seem to want to hold a lot of space for it. And so it's that like aha moment, like, oh, okay, just because somebody is like saying that they're doing something progressive doesn't mean that they're actually doing actions to be progressive. You know.
Yeah. That is so interesting because I can kind of equate it to what's happening in today's society where you say one thing and then you're not doing the
Yep.
thing that you're saying up front. Interesting. My theory is that that comes with a certain level of emotional maturity.
Yeah, and like owning your shit, because
Exactly.
yeah, we all make mistakes. We're all like trying to learn and grow in a new
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
and it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, that's good to know for someone like me who's kind of curious of going into polyamory. I'm going to ask you one more like
Sure.
type of scenario. Like, Do you suppose that some polyamorous people claim that they're polyamorous so that they can be able to date whoever they want and avoid being like called a cheater, but they're still not doing the work?
Yep.
Okay.
That's, it's a big issue for sure. There's a lot of like unicorn hunters and one penis policies and like
Whoa, 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 whoa,
bullshit
whoa. You just said a bunch of stuff. Okay.
that
Unicorn hunters. Hold on, we'll get to that. Penis. What? Penis
one penis
policy?
policy, yeah,
One penis
OPP.
policy. Okay, let's start with unicorn hunters.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
So unicorn hunters is like typically like a hetero cis male female couple, and they're looking for a third. So they're usually
Yeah.
looking for a female. So that's the unicorn. And
Mhm.
then they're hunting for their unicorn. And it's like usually pretty easy to tell that that's what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's like a little bit of, I don't want to say divide so much, but I guess there is a little bit of a divide between people that are fine with okay unicorn hunters and then people that find it um, inherently morally suspect that you're trying to find a person to fill a space as opposed to meeting a person, interacting with them, and then like deciding what kind of relationship you want to have out of that. You know, like having like a 3-person relationship is not unheard of and is
Totally.
perfectly fine, but
Right.
letting it develop to that naturally is different than just trying to find somebody to plug into your holes.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Pinky and the Brain. You know, like what's on the docket today? We're hunting unicorns today.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and so the one penis policy, I think I want to like make up my own assumptions of what that is, but I'm just going to listen to you, the expert. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, one penis policy is just what it sounds like. It's when, once again, cisgendered hetero couples, um, I say hetero, and like usually the female is bisexual.
Sure,
But you know that kind of like formation of a couple.
sure.
But and the like the female of the group is fine to like go date. The woman is fine to go date other women, but the original man that she's dating is the only penis in the situation, which you
Got
can
it.
see is like you know has its own issues in a
Yeah,
multitude of ways and is also
yeah.
pretty transphobic.
It's transphobic, is that what you said?
Oh yeah, for sure, because it's that assumption that like you're you can't date a man and men have penises. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that seems pretty problematic. I'm not gonna lie. That's
yeah,
interesting. I did not know all of these things. So these are the types of things you talk about
yeah,
on Kinky
yeah.
Talks Tuesday. You're not currently doing those?
I'm not. I should restart them, especially with it being around the holidays, wanting to like create conversations for people, you know, because it's such a stressful time, just like creating more interactions with people so that they...
Yeah, yeah. Were people tipping you for those talks?
No, but I did have a lot of like, it seems like every time I did it, I'd have at least one person that would like follow me on OnlyFans.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Got it. Yeah, just reel them in however you can. I get it. I get it. Um, yeah, so in October, I noticed that you mentioned not having the option to use the tool of burlesque, how that started to affect you. Like mentally, if I could say, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm lots of this quarantine stuff has affected me mentally. But I just was wondering if you could expand on that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's been yeah, it's been there's been a multitude of things that have been really difficult about this year. But definitely one surrounding burlesque is not like, in some ways I have found some outlets of like doing virtual shows
Mhm.
and trying to focus on teaching more classes. But like massively missing actually being on stage and being like a Kinky Slippers as a persona. It feels a lot more vulnerable to be in my house and in my space and like inviting people in to see a little bit more of my life, and that feels a little bit more like myself as opposed to like my Kinky Slippers burlesque persona. So
Right.
it's been like a bit of a journey, realizing that all of these like this confidence that I had built up through burlesque of being like kinky slippers and being able to be on stage, be at a show where you already are in the environment and you can get into that feeling of power and strength. That there, when you strip some of those away and I'm not in the venue and having to deal with a little bit more vulnerability, that there's still like a lot of work to do there for like gaining confidence and strength and still being able to yeah, feel confident in front of people, I guess.
Yeah. Do you suppose that has something to do with like when we're actually performing, we're like up on this stage, right?
Yeah,
We're like there's already this sense of like what's the right word? Of just like maybe power and comfortability, maybe like what you said, because like I don't know, to me stage feels like home,
yeah.
but it doesn't feel like my house home.
No, no, it's total. And you have like the lights behind you and the air of like people are already creating the environment and drinking, where you have to like kind of artificially create that when you're doing a virtual show
Yeah.
to try to tap in and get that connection. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I mean, you must miss being on stage. I'm pretty sure that's a given for the majority of people I talk to on this show. But it just really came through in that post that I read from you. Like, what do you think are, I don't know, I don't want to say consequences, but like the true deep effects of the trauma of so many of us losing like a part of ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of work to grow and build off of that, you know. I think it's another big part of that, which I've noticed more so with burlesque shows that I'm producing, is trying to create that connection not just between the audience but also between the other performers that you're
Yeah.
there with. You know, you have like so many other, especially like for myself in this Portland community where we are really trying to build each other up and motivate each other and psych each other up for shows. It's hard to do when you're by yourself, like trying to get your makeup on or have a new outfit, and you
Yeah.
even buying something new. Like usually you have like your friends next to you that are like, "Oh my god, where'd you get that? That looks so good on you.
Totally.
You're
Yeah,
killing it." You have to be your own cheerleader, and it's fucking hard.
it is hard. Yeah. Yeah. So the other day I was telling my mom, like, Mom, I just can't do sex work right now because these clients require emotional labor from me, and I'm just not in the fucking mood to just put my makeup on and make dumb videos for people. I'm just
Yeah.
not in the mood. And it's the longer this goes on, the less of the mood I'm not in the mood. More and more and more as time. Are you experiencing waxing and waning of in the mood, not in the mood? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like constantly a roller coaster of like having a ton of energy and feeling like I'm on top of everything and I can do anything, and then just like plummeting and I could barely get myself out of bed. So
yeah, I mean, I hate to say that I'm happy to hear that.
having a little bit of like validation though that you're not the only one. It's hard.
Yeah, because there's sometimes where it's like 2 weeks have gone by and I'm like, "Okay, I've done nothing. What am I
Yeah.
doing?" You know?
And I feel like, I don't know about you, but for myself it's been this kind of like conversation for myself about like how much of that is me wanting to get things done, which it is, and then how much of that is like we live in a capitalist society where productivity equals our worth. So
Exactly.
it's like way more of like, you know, pre-COVID, it's I'm still like, oh, I need to get these things done because they have to get done, so I need to be productive, whereas now it feels very like, what am I if I'm not producing constantly?
Exactly. Yeah, what am I if I'm not seeing my bank account go up instead of down?
Yeah, yeah.
And
If my credit score is not constantly going up, then I'm not a
right.
good person.
Yeah, and Credit Karma, I'm sorry, Credit Karma, you're a dick. Like, stop telling me how bad I'm doing at life, okay?
Yes. Oh my god, I got so pissed because I had a just the other month had a bill. I always pay my credit card in full every month. And I'm just learning about the 30%, like you can't use more than 30% of it, or otherwise it drops your credit score like
No.
instantly.
I know. I just found out about it that too. And I'm like, motherfuckers, why aren't you teaching us this in high
Yeah.
school? Why are you
Yes.
making me find this
Yes.
out at 40 years old? Fuck you guys. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Fuck. Now everybody knows that I don't have a great credit score. It's fine. I don't know about you, but even my bank account being pretty low, I still am sending money to our siblings who are out in the fucking cold these days.
Yes.
I'd like to take a moment just to honor that and not complain about my white ass living in a two-story house complaining about my money problems.
Yeah, it's definitely something too where not to like cycle around this COVID so much, but it's so hard not to. But
Yeah.
it's like my being able to survive has been so reflected by other people supporting me and supporting the work that I do. So
Yeah.
it has been something where like much more freely and much more wantingly to like give back to other people that need that support as well.
Yeah.
Where would I be if I didn't have it?
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. Thanks for yeah, I think it's really important that and I say this to any of our other community members that like yeah, we're all uncomfortable, but some of us are literally getting pushed out of our
Yep.
homes right now. So I urge everyone to continuously recycle the money because some people need it way more than others. So
Yes.
Want to be fabulous just like these strippers? Pay attention. It's stripper tips.
your stripper tip, queen.
So yeah, so I guess my stripper tip was not to let other people set your limits,
Mhm.
which I feel like can be in a couple different ways of like, setting your limits for what you want to do. Like, there's always going to be somebody that will pay you for the things that you're comfortable doing, so you don't have to push beyond those limits in order to get the booking for a show or to make money. And then also setting your own limits for what you want to accomplish, because people are always going to tell you you can't accomplish what you want and they're full of shit. Of course you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Get ready for our rapid fire question round. It's time for 4 for 1.
Question number one. What's a home remedy you swear by?
Oh, um, uh, oh man, I'm so sorry. I don't know why this one is so tough.
Yeah.
Oh, garlic, I suppose. I love garlic and everything, and I feel like it keeps ticks away, and it's great just eating garlic.
I'm sorry, I have to do a follow-up question. Do you insert garlic cloves into your vag to clean it out?
I tried that once when I was 19, and it was incredibly fucking painful, and I never recommend anyone to do that. It's horrible. I don't know why they
Okay.
suggested it.
Okay. I'm glad I asked. Next question. Who's your favorite witch?
Oh, so I'm a Charmed fanatic,
Okay.
almost embarrassingly so. Phoebe Halliwell is my favorite witch.
Got it. I have no idea who that is. What is your favorite thing to do with ice cubes?
Ooh, um, I mean, I guess just my first thought is just like ice cube to the nipple, like fun messing around.
I knew it wasn't going to be something like, put it in my water. I knew it would be fun. Okay. Last one. What would you say to a family raccoons living on your balcony?
Like you have your home, I have my home, as long as we respect each other's, then that's fine. It's all good.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Be kind to the raccoons. Yes, they need our help. I love it. Thank you. So, we need everyone to know where to follow you, what shows you're doing, how to find out more about you. So, say all the things.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at kinky_slippers or Facebook. I have my OnlyFans, which is again onlyfans.com/kinky_slippers. I frequently am on Sanctuary every month, And then I also usually do a build your own burlesque show. So if you're on Instagram, you
Ooh.
can vote and choose what costumes and makeup and things that people are going to wear. And then 10 days later, we have a show via Zoom that you can watch live or you can get the recording of. So if you go to kinkyslippers.com, you can check out that show as well.
That is so fun. How does that work out for all of you that do that?
It's different every time. It's really exciting. I co-produce it with La Petite Mystique, and it's been a fantastic production. This is our third time doing it. For December 19th is our upcoming show. And it's great because we get to have a much like more diverse cast, being able to ask people from out of state, and then recreate that like reconnection with the audience that we're lacking doing these virtual shows by having them like pick out which outfits they like the best and suggesting songs. And sometimes I get like something totally unique and different that I would never normally do. And then sometimes I get them picking stuff that I've literally done a million times, which is kind of crazy, but also flattering that people enjoy what I do and don't think I should change too much. So
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like being in a band and being on stage and people are like calling out what song they want you to
yeah,
sing
yeah.
next. Yeah, because I think I'm gonna tangent a little bit before we end, but I think that, you know, we tend to, as performers and like performers that like wear costumes and do themes, we're like, okay, well, I did that one theme, like that's done, and we don't
Yep.
go back to it.
No, it's crazy. Just throw away that like few $100 costume. No need to do it again. But
And the
yeah, no,
hours of
people.
choreography and
Yes, it's hard work. People love nostalgia. They want to see the same stuff that they've seen a bunch of times so that they can remember how much they loved it.
yeah, that's great. That is so innovative and unique. And I did see those posts where you're like, 1, 2, 3, which outfit should I wear? But I didn't understand to what extent. I was like, oh, that's clever that she's, you know, it's a clever way to get more comments on her Instagram.
Yes, yeah.
But it is though, isn't it? Not only are you engaging and getting more shit done on Instagram and on social media, but you're also allowing them to build what they want to see. That's just so innovative. I'm really impressed with that.
Thank you.
It's really tight. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you for having me. It's
You're
been
so
such a
welcome.
fun show. I love this format and your energy. It's
Oh,
really
thank
great show.
you. I'm glad. And thank you to everyone out there listening to Yes, a Stripper podcast. Be sure to send in your questions, comments, or concerns. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
We're now accepting 4-for-1 submissions from our listeners. You can send them in via Instagram at Yes a Stripper Podcast or on Twitter at Yes a Stripper Pod. Make sure to follow all the things and email any questions or concerns to yesastripperpodcast@gmail.com. Tune in every Wednesday. See you soon.